If you like to feed your mind with information that will help you develop a growth mindset, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below. Also, turn on the notifications bell to never miss a new video. Lessons on mindset, perspective, working out, playing games. Lesson 1. How to change your mindset and turn lions into kittens. It's not just our bodies that are a result of evolution. Likewise, it is also our minds and our psychology that have been shaped by the world that we evolved in, and that is where a lot of our most unusual behaviors come from. When we were evolving, we were in a far more dangerous scenario than we were right now, and we could never afford to take risks. Only the psychological traits that made us most likely to survive were passed on from one person to another, and that means that they're the only ones that matter. This is why we are risk-averse by nature, and it is also, unfortunately, why we spend a lot of our time experiencing chronic stress. The danger of ambiguity. Imagine that you were in the wild, looking at the silhouette of some kind of animal sitting on the horizon. You don't know if that silhouette is of a lion or some kind of kitten. What do you do? The most pertinent solution in order to survive is to assume the worst. Assume it is a lion and either freeze or run. The people who take chances would be the most likely to get eaten, and thus not to pass on their personality traits. But the problem is that we don't see lions anymore. This is not the biggest threat to your life right now. Instead, the biggest stressors are things like debt, illness, relationship problems, and career issues. These are the threats we face that are the stand-ins for the lions, and that we now must try and overcome if we are going to be successful in life. And unfortunately, we still have that tendency to assume the worst. It's all about perspective. But here's the thing, it's actually all about perspective, and it's all about mindset when it comes to our reaction to threats. If we think it's a kitten, then we'll be able to remain cool, calm, and happy, even if it is a metaphorical lion. In other words, it pays for us to reassess our situations and to take control of our anxiety and our stress. When we can do that, then we can remove the chronic anxiety that makes us perform worse and feel worse. How do you turn your situations into kittens? Simple. You assess exactly why you're afraid and whether or not there really is a good reason for you to be. Likewise, you can look at contingency plans and coping mechanisms. Remember, it's all just perspective. Change your mindset and you change the reality. Lesson number 2. How to find the drive and determination to work out every day. Working out is something that many of us feel we should do more of, whether that means jogging, lifting weights, or training for some kind of sporting event. The hope is that by training, we'll be able to build more muscle and burn more fat, which in turn will give us the physique we're looking for. Thus, we go about creating these elaborate training programs filled with multiple workouts throughout the week. We combine this with some kind of diet that involves eating a very small number of calories and generally just force ourselves to live in discomfort for days and months to reach our goals. Except, come day 2, we will often already have abandoned that goal. Why? Because it's just too intense to stick at, and we were too ambitious. If you're already tired and you're inactive most evenings as a result, how do you intend to add 5 hours of training to your current routine? And how do you intend to do all that while also factoring in 30 minutes of travel, washing, and cooling down after each session? Or when taking into account a calorie deficit giving you less energy than you would normally have? Be realistic. The first problem with this type of training, and thus the first thing you need to fix, is your ambition. It's great to be realistic, of course, but not at the extent of being realistic. There's only so much you can expect your body to accomplish in a given week, and your energy, not just your time, is finite. Instead of starting with 5 one-hour workouts, what about starting with 3 half-hour ones? And find other ways to make it easier too, such as training from home. Focus on the vision. What's also important is that you focus on the vision and you focus on dream. Why is it that you want to work out? What are you hoping to achieve? What would it feel like to have that body you've always wanted? To feel confident and energetic? It's too easy to miss that connection between our dreams and the steps we have to take to get there. So, to make sure that you're driven in the right direction, really focus on that dream and what it can deliver you. Really imagine what it will feel like to accomplish your goals and use this to drive you. Lesson number 3. How to turn everything into a game and get better at it. Have you ever wondered why it is that we enjoy games so much? And have you ever wondered why it is that you dislike your job so much? What is the difference between pressing buttons on an Xbox and pressing buttons on keyboards? The answer may surprise you. It actually comes down to your effort and how much you care. You care about games, and you make the effort because you want to get better at them, and because there's constant variety and plot progression to keep things interesting. This makes you try harder in order to progress, and that in turn gives you the feeling of reward that makes the gameplay satisfying. From a neurochemical perspective, this essentially boils down to the release of dopamine. Each time you add a level or challenge, you first visualize it happening in your mind's eye. When you then attempt it for real and this then goes to plan just as you visualized it, this will in turn result in you getting a release of the reward hormone dopamine. This is actually highly addictive, and that can be enough to make you want to try again, which is why it's so hard to put down that game of Angry Birds. That release of dopamine and serotonin will also help to reinforce the neural connections required to perform the task again. This strengthens your likelihood of doing the same thing again in the future with perfect technique and generally improves your technique and ability. When we don't care about the outcome, though, we don't have this trial-reward loop, and as a result it can end up feeling like a dull slog. To change this, then, all you need to do is start taking things more seriously and actually focus on what you're doing. The most basic. Let's say you have something to write by hand. This is a mundane task and something most of us won't pay much attention to. So, instead of simply doing it absent-mindedly then, you should instead try to really focus on doing it as perfectly as possible. Try to let the pen flow perfectly as you write, and to write with the most perfect handwriting you can muster. Visualize it happening as you do it. Simply paying attention to your writing in this way and making it perfect will then be enough to ensure that you are more engaged and that you get the release of dopamine when it goes well. You've turned the mundane into a game. Why? Because the brain loves learning and improving. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below. Also, turn on the notifications bell to never miss a new video.